Next on BBC One, the History Trail, which begins in 1 minute.
Hello. Here we are in the middle of a beautiful English village in the 1980s. But we're surrounded by some rather old houses. This house is nearly 400 years old. Would you have guessed it?
It wasn't like that when I worked there.
When young Tom lived in the village in the year 1610, it looked like this. And the house we looked at would have been brand new. But he didn't grow up in a well-built house like that. His home was much more flimsy.
Hello, Father.
What is it? Jack, have you been drinking again? Do you have bread, Jack? Bread for the children? He paid you something then? Gave you some money? No one said you was idle, Jack. Not this week. Jack?
What is it, Mum?
What do you think, Ninny? He's got the marsh fever. She won't be long, Jack. There, there. Mary will be back soon with Goody Bailey's box, which has wafers and other things. I've seen it. Many things in that box, Jack, to make you better. You have it? Bring it here, girl, bring. Look. The wafer. And the vial of blood. From a lamb not 2 days old, that. Don't you tell Parson.
What's happening here is partly magic and witchcraft, if you like, and partly religion too. Words like hocus pocus are jumbled up words from the Latin prayers of the Catholic Church. It's also medicine too. Women do all the nursing and doctoring.
Hocus pocus corpus cocus icus gaily singy sangy.
Is it witchcraft? Some people in the village have begun to think it is. After all, No one in the village knows why these things work. Is it the things themselves? The way the herbs are gathered at midnight? Or the magic words that do it?
Now the wafer, Jack. You must eat it, Goody Bailey says. Jack? He's still now. The power is with him. He'll be well now, you see. Marsh fever, go away. Don't come back for many a day. He'll be well.
Parson says we can have alms from the poor race, ma'am. He says 8p a week, maybe.
Oh.
I don't know if we all go to church. And learn to answer questions about religion.
Oh, does he? Is that what he says, Tom? Him sweating with fever near dead and me answering questions at my age. That's a fine way to be going on, that is.
Well, I didn't say it, ma'am. Parson did.
How long do they say he talks? In that church of his? 5 hours at a time? I don't know. Religion. I don't know.
Life is far more comfortable here in Yeoman Parkins House. Some people in Beckton have been growing richer than their neighbours. When they acquire a little more money, they buy more land and so become richer still. Yeoman Parkins is one of the lucky ones. He's actually rebuilt his house to make it more comfortable. A house like this may well be standing in the 20th century. Even got proper windows. And a proper fireplace, so the rooms won't fill with smoke. It's very nice. That's Yeoman Parkins at the end of the table. He's the farmer, and he's invited Mr. Ardwick, the preacher, to dinner. This is his farmhouse.
Ah! Good English beef, Parson. Don't employ a cook, not in this house. Though I could afford such a body. My wife, God bless her, she's perfection with me.
The mouth waters, good wife. I sometimes think I should have been a farmer myself.
Not so, Parson, not so. You have a calling to religion and the Lord. And you're a teacher, which is what we most need in all this world.
Well.
We are a people of bad habits, Parson. A point you yourself made in your excellent sermon in church on Sunday. Everywhere you look, what do you see? Idleness. Labouring men who will not labour. Men given to sporting and dancing who would eat and would not sweat for it. All this is wicked in the sight of the Lord, and the church alone can teach and correct it. If the poor spent half the time in church that they spent in the alehouse, they'd be the better for it. There.
Ah, God bless you, Yeoman Parkins.
Here we are.
Oh, you are generous indeed.
Well, now we're all finished. Perhaps the parson would lead us in thanksgiving.
We thank thee, O God.
Yeoman Parkins takes his religion very seriously. He's worked hard to get where he is. When he gets more money, he buys more land, and so needs to work even harder. He built this house himself. In the last few years, he's begun to believe that idleness, laziness, is the worst sin of all, and that people who stay poor are willfully offending God. They should make more effort. The old preacher didn't think this. He just got on with saying prayers. So, Yeoman Parkins and some other rich farmers arranged to get Mr. Ardwick instead. He's what you call a Puritan, straight from university, And, like Yeoman Parkins, he too believes that people ought to be made to try harder and work harder.
In the name of God, our Father, Amen. Amen.
Amen.
The church was always the most important building in the village. It was here that people were supposed to learn the difference between right and wrong and how to earn a place in heaven. But as Tom was growing up, the church was changing, and people, like Yeoman Parkins, were accepting the new idea that it took more than just good behavior to get to heaven. You had to be chosen. And one sign of being chosen was the fact that you studied the Bible and learned lessons set by the parson. This was Puritanism. And the parson at Beckton is a Puritan. There used to be no seats in church, but now the parson gives long sermons, and there are seats for the better off villagers. Most people from the village never come here, except if there's a birth or a death. Birth and death are very common. Take a look at this. This is a monument to Adrian Stoughton. He was a very rich man, and there's his wife. They lived together in holy wedlock 31 years, happy parents of 16 children. Well, there's Adrian, who died in 1614, and there's his wife. And here are some of his children. As you see, they're holding skulls. These are the skulls of their dead brothers and sisters who died while they were still children. Every birth and death is recorded in the parish register, which is now in the local record office. Marriages. Christenings. Oh, look, one of the Stoughton children. This is a page for christenings in 1601. And this is Rebecca Stoughton, daughter of Adrian Stoughton. It's very difficult to read. Oh. A child was christened, given the name in church shortly after being born. Now let's turn to the burials of 1601. There she is, Rebecca Stoughton. Death was very common among children, so common it was accepted. The death of adults came early too, quite often. But when it did, it was a real disaster.
Service?
In a yeoman's house, as a servant. Well, it is hard work, but it is work, and good in the Lord's sight. Well, come winter, you'll starve.
Then we'd all go to church.
Put your boy to work for Yeoman Parkins. He's willing. And knowing your difficulties, I'm sure he can give the boy some money now, before he starts work.
We'll still be starving, I reckon, come winter.
It will not be easy for you, that I grant. But there will be more for you day by day than there is now.
And you and my betters save 8p a week on the poor rates.
There are many poor, alas.
So, Tom's going to work for Yeoman Parkins. Becoming a servant for these people doesn't just mean getting a job. It means becoming part of someone else's family. It means working at everything there is to be done. In the fields, with the animals, around the house. And there's no such thing as time off. If there are jobs to be done, everyone does them. Except on a Sunday. Then Tom will go to church with his new family. In between times, he'll learn the Bible and then be tested by the parson.
He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake.
Who said the boy could not be taught? He's word perfect, parson.
And the grace of God shines in him.
Tom gets his food and a bed. but he doesn't get paid anything. There's a little bit of money for his mother, once or twice a year, but mostly she'll have to rely on village charity. If there's a good harvest, then Tom will be able to take us some food from Master Parkins' farm. If the harvest isn't so good, by the following January, Master Parkins won't have much to spare. It's February now, and it was a bad harvest.
But I gave everything, Mum. Everything I got. I shan't get more till March is out.
March? That's good, seeing as we got nothing left. There's nothing to eat, except it costs a fortune. You know that, Tom. I can scarce buy a loaf in a week. I don't know what to do.
No, I don't either.
Rats eat better than we do. Either you get me more money, or we starve. And if we starve, Tom Jackson, do you know what I'll do? I'll make out I'm a witch woman.
No!
Yes, I will. And they'll all know I'm putting the evil eye on them as letting a woman starve. And her babies. And then what'll they think of you, Tom Jackson? Eh? What'll they think?
I know what to do.
What? Take from him. Something nice.
No, not from him. Something worse than that. Something terrible.
He did it for me. Me and his sister's what he did it for. And the baby. Because we was starving and he wasn't. As far as he knew, that's what God would have wanted him to do.
Oh, this is preposterous.
He didn't see all sides of it, that's all. He's a boy.
Thou shalt not steal, saith the Lord. That is his commandment.
Is it?
I'm ashamed to have brought this boy into your house, Mr. Parkins. I've done you wrong.
Do you know the penalty in England for stealing?
Yes, sir. Be strung up.
Be hanged until you're dead.
There was a time he not needed to steal. Not so long back. Before your new ways come in and your religion. Then when people was down, their neighbors helped them out. You help someone one time and they help you the next. Now that's all over. I don't know. Now when people's down and you need help, they say, don't come to me, they say. Go and get parish help. We pay a rate for that. Is parish help or starve for you, they say.
But you had parish help last year when your good man died of marsh fever.
Aye, for a week or so. You couldn't stop it quick enough, could you? And this time when I came, it was no. Be off with you.
Fair enough. I think we have a bad boy here, that's all. A boy of bad stock. You will note, Parson, it takes more than a few catechisms and psalms to wipe out years of bad example. What did they call your father, boy? Idle Jack, was it? Mm-hmm. Bad stock. Bad stock. And I did think we were beginning to clothe you in the garments of righteousness.
You must consider what's to be done.
Indeed. Well, Tom, now this, you must understand, Tom, is the parson's decision because it was the church that was despoiled. And you may count your blessings. He is a gentleman with feelings who, although he has many misgivings as to what will happen if you go unpunished, does not wish you to be taken to law.
But I am guilty. in the sight of the Lord.
What would have happened to Tom if he'd been thrown out of his job instead of being forgiven? Well, he would have had no work, so he wouldn't have been able to give his mother any money to live on. Perhaps they would have become beggars and joined one of the many groups of beggars and walked the lanes, masterless men and women outside the law. But instead, they remained respectable, frightened, like most respectable folk, of the beggars. Which is one reason why, in a few years' time, they became Puritans.
Bye.